Good morning. I hope you had a good experience with us yesterday. Today, day two of the summit, we will discuss generation changes within family offices, private jets, investment opportunity in a plant-based meat, real estate, investment in network effects, private debt, and investing in Australia. Please make the most of the summit by networking and participating in our discussion, our roundtable. We will begin with the first panel discussion, Generation Change, Managing Family Office Affair. I wish you a lovely day with us. I leave it with the panelists.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. I cannot see you physically, but I can tell that you're very attentive virtually. This is wonderful. October 22nd, the second day of the APAC Family Office Investment Forum. And I like it very much that we are starting the morning with family voices. My name is Annie Koh. I'm a professor of finance at the Singapore Management University. I also hold the title of being the academic director of the Business Families Institute. And we named it BFI because we put the family at the center. And that's because businesses would transform and change over the life cycle of any family. But the family should remain as a core entity. And therefore, the transitions in businesses should not affect the harmony of the family. We have three amazing panelists today. In a little while, I'll get each of them to do a self-introduction, and the idea is to set in context on how the businesses could have transformed, and one of them have transformed it to a single family office. And then we have a multi-generation family, and Wing Kiat will then talk about how they could have extended family changes, and now he's setting up his own nuclear family issues. And I'm delighted that I have a resource person in India who has set up an Esther Club meant for linking families together so that in the comfort of a safe space, they do share about the many family issues. To get the ball rolling, I'm going to start with Mr. Richard Tao. Richard, welcome. And Richard is currently based in Hong Kong. So, you know, this is the amazing thing about technology. We get closer together even though we are physically apart. Richard, I'm going to leave the stage to you now. Perhaps you could give us a little background on your family office, but prior to that, what businesses was it in?
Sure. Thank you very much. Very honored to be sharing this panel with such an esteemed company. I'm chairman of New Heritage Investments Limited. I'm actually the second generation. My late father founded our group as a family business. Started off in actually in Southeast Asia, and I was educated in Thailand, Singapore, and eventually Hong Kong, UK, and the US, and gradually found my way home in Hong Kong. And our business is primarily in, it started off in trading, shipping, and then real estate. And then my father was one of the first back in China after the open door policy. And by about the third project, the second generation got involved. My brother joined him, and I joined them later. We eventually listed the business in 2005, and ran it for about 9 years until we did a sale in 2014 of our controlling interest through a general offer, and that thereafter set up a family office.
I love the name of your family office, Richard. How did it come about? New Heritage. What was it trying to do and communicate?
Yeah, actually, my father and his brother, I guess when they went into China, the first project, actually it was the second project they did, and they coined the name New Heritage. I guess they had us in mind.
Oh, very good. So you are the new generation. Other than yourself, are there other family members who are directly involved in your investments company right now?
Yes, actually, my father had this very interesting condition. He, before listing the company at the age of 80, he asked my brother and me to promise that we would run the company together. Then we listed, and then even at the age of 90, the general offer came, and he said, after the sale, would you still work together? And we promised him we would. So
Very
was,
nice. And are you the eldest brother?
yes, I am. But I also have an older sister who's a doctor in Singapore, actually.
Okay. And are the shareholders all members of the family, even though the management team is largely the two brothers?
Yes, yes. It's all held by family members, but the active members are just my brother and myself. We actually have a third generation. My son joined us last year.
Congratulations. You look very young to have a son joining the company. All right. So you are already on the pathway to prepare for the next generation of the new heritage.
Yes. Well, we're doing it all together. I think my son also talked a lot to his grandfather. So yeah, that's
so it's intergenerational. Very nice. I'm sure there will be questions coming up in a little while. So you've set a wonderful context for us. And currently, how many members in total are in the shareholders agreement from the family?
Oh, we only, right now, there's only about 4 of us.
Okay. Yeah. All males?
Oh, no. It's quite
your sister.
Balanced, yes. My our mother, sister, and 2 sons. Yeah.
Very good. Are in-laws shareholders?
Not yet. Not yet. Yeah.
So something along the family constitution that you are thinking about, but you haven't set it up yet.
Yeah, especially if the in-laws themselves have business family as well. Yeah.
Yes, yes. So I understand. So something again about transgenerational, because there is more than just your immediate family in many of our extended families. Yeah, which nicely allow us to segue to Wing Kiat. Wing Kiat, give us a little bit of your history and background.
Okay, I would like to trace back to a 4th generation's business family. That my great-grandfather came down from China. But unfortunately, he wasn't too successful in this business, although he was in the tin mining, started in Ipoh. But it was my grandfather that founded Wing Ken Group together with 3 friends. It was founded in 1937. The company is mainly in the traditional Chinese medicines and some Western OTC. Okay, that is the extended family business. And at the same time, actually, I started my own family business concept in 1990. Yeah, because actually, I'm not the eldest grandson of my grandfather. So it wasn't my idea of joining the extended family business. So I started this business concept in 1990. At the same time, I was working as a venture capitalist. So my passion is really in the private equity and the property investment arena. But well, there's always what we call family service, that some 2nd generation leader from other families of Wing Ken Group invited me to join the extended family business. And he talked to me for almost 6 years. And I felt that it's a sort of a family service that I cannot reject, especially during meal times, that my mother will give me the sort of hint that, well, it's time for you to come back. If not, then my father will not able to retire. So it was in the 1995, I have to put aside my own family business, which is business concept, and to join the extended family business. I would say that Wing Ken is a multi-family because it makes up of 4 families and multi-generations. The business already in the 3rd generations. So can you imagine the complexities of the Wing Ken business? And for myself, and my grandfather actually had 4 wives. So which means I've got uncle from different grandmother and cousin from different grandmothers. So the complexity of the business family plus the complexity of the family business will make the things very challenging. And it was never my intention to join the extended family business because I've seen the challenges even at a very young age. But I would say that in the Chinese family, now we just have to take on some of the challenges. And I would say that although I'm the 2nd in the family, my eldest brother managed to escape to start his own business in China. So I was the one that left in Singapore. And my third brother was having his study in the UK because we have quite a big age gap. So left with me to take over my father's role in the extended family business.
Do you still get involved in Winkian right now? Or you?
Well, that is a very challenging thing. I would say that I joined the company in 1995. And actually, I stepped down from the day-to-day operation in 2011. Well, I still remained as a director in the company in 2011, and I really stepped out as a director in last year, 2019. So in the extended family business, I would say that we stepped down, but we still haven't stepped out. And we step out, but I'm still a shareholder of the Winkian Group. Okay, that is a challenge that, no, because it is a private equity, we can only sell among the shareholders, no, from my family and to other family within the group. And the challenges is that in the M&A, actually we can only pass down our shares through the linear descendant through the mill. And the challenge always comes because I've got 3 kids, 2 boys and 1 girl, which means that I can pass my shares to my daughter, but she will not be able to pass a share to her children because of the different surname. So I do see that there will be a lot of challenges in Winkian Group. That's why I did a sort of family tree shareholder pruning in the year 2005. And it took me about 3 years to really prune the tree, to complete the things in 2008, to reduce some of those shareholders who wanted to exit, not just from my family, but also from the other 3 families. So in the way is that when they started this business, there wasn't any buy-sell agreement among the shareholders. And of course, they don't have any buy-sell agreement with insurance to support about the proceed. So it was a very challenging sort of exercise that I did for Winkian in 2005 to 2008. Although I managed to prune some of the shareholders that they wanted to exit from the company. But I would say that after the few years after pruning, I would say that the number of shareholders have grown because they get married and then the kids grown after 21 years old and then they're given the shares. So I would say that the number of shareholders have come back to almost the same number before the pruning. But imagine if I didn't prune the family shareholder tree, it would have become a public unlisted company by now.
It would have enough shareholders to be a listco. Very good. Winkian. So Winkian, I'm going to hold you here, all right? Because I will have a couple of questions that will come in, but already just one family case story, 4 generations, and the complexities are coming from so many different areas. I think, Leah, this is the kind of family that would need your service and advisory, right? But tell us about what you do at Esther Club.
So what I do is I work with family-owned businesses and combining my business experience and also the academic background of studying organizational behavior, I provide support for the families from non-financial perspective, untangling that kind of very complicated people issues. So actually the previous example is a very good example. Today, even a very simple things like what is family, that definition is not that straightforward because each family have their own interpretation and also different cultures impose different rules. So, and then these days, as the family members live in different part of the world, and then cultures and expectations get mixed up, that even just defining what it means to be a family is not an easy task. So usually I manage the process by understanding the family and facilitating the discussion. So I find that the most important thing is really families having the open dialogue about this kind of issues. So I know that sometimes when I start the project and when I say, okay, let's talk about what it means to be a family, and they laugh at me. But yeah, we
I like that. Good starting point. And Leah, how old is Esther Club today? How long
The
have you
Astor
found it?
Club is, as of now, I think
Mm.
it's 6 years old.
Very good.
But I've been providing the advisory to the family for last 20 years. And actually the whole idea of Astor Club is, as an advisor, I get to work with the families after they encounter problem.
Mm.
And just like in healthcare, the irony is once people have cancer, they are willing to pay for anything, and they are willing to go around the world getting all this special treatment, even the treatment that's not proven. But nobody is willing to do the prevention. So
Yeah.
with the Astor Club, what I wanted to do was a lot of serious problems that families have. Actually, if they do the prevention, it's actually very easy to prevent big problems. So the
Okay.
Astor Club was set up for the prevention. And as you said, the whole idea is it is much easier for families to exchange ideas and talk about it in a non-threatening, more peer support kind of a setting. So that's the whole purpose. And I do hope, and also this conference is another great venue that having this kind of discussion, the people learn from other families, from the real examples, so that they can think about and how to apply it in their own family and prevent the disasters in advance.
Very good. And you're based in Stamford, Connecticut right now, right?
Yes, I am. Yes.
Very nice, Leah. So, thank you very much for staying up for us. Yeah, although it's not too unearthly hour yet. I'm going to jump back to Richard now. So one targeted question for each of you, and then we'll open for Q&A, because I could see a lot of people urging me to quickly get to the Q&A. So the title of our panel is actually about generational change, managing a complex family affair. I think by this introduction, you already realize it's not just one family. It's a lot of complexity amongst different family members. I think, Richard, you're a little bit blessed that you're a second generation. And, Papa is still around, playing both the role of second generation mentor as well as third generation. You make a wonderful statement that your son is also very close to the grandfather. So I love it. I'm going to ask you a very simple question. How do you adapt to the change from a operating family business to a family office? Maybe you could start with that for me.
Yeah, actually, this all came about when we prepared for the listing of our company. The questions that we had when my father first, he passed away in 2015, but way back in the 70s and 80s, he had really persevered in setting up the business in China. And, in those days, the transportation was just a nightmare. But then in order for him to then invest in China, he put so much capital in. Everyone was saying, oh, how is that going to come out? So fortunately for us, I met somebody during the dot-com era. This was in the in-law side, the family business. And he was an IPO specialist. And very fortunate that my father then said he wanted to consider doing a listing. So, there were a lot of other non-family partners in the business. So in one fell swoop, when we IPO'd, all the capital came out of China into the Hong Kong stock market. And then, that was the best way to do it. And
how old were you then? Were you involved in that whole thinking and planning process, Richard?
Yes, actually, I was already in my 40s. So that's why I think just having the maturity. My background is in naval architecture. It's not even in finance.
Amazing.
So, yeah, well, just some basic accounting. But I think it's the people that's extremely important. The person who was involved in our IPO, we still have business relationship with him to this day. My son also has contact with him. And I think, this thing about bringing in the third generation, I think seeds have to be planted very early. it's never too late to start,
Mm.
and it's an ongoing process.
Mm.
I must give credit to my other half, my better half.
Your wife. Yep.
the
In her
mother's-
wisdom, she saw.
Yeah, the mother's influence is so important. I have a daughter who's actually an architect in the firm that my father brought into China.
Ah.
I can't name names, but yeah, we're very, very blessed. She herself was not, the two siblings are night and day, but you have to keep them close.
Mm.
So she's a professional. This is the thing about a business family. Once someone becomes professional, you have to encourage them to pursue that. But I always have this thing in mind that perhaps one day I'll bring her back in the
To be
family.
a naval architect.
Oh, she's a land architect. She actually does buildings. I used to design ships because we were in shipping.
Very good.
But yeah, the cruel joke was the year I graduated, they sold all the ships.
Okay, I'm going to sneak in a family office question here. So in terms of the investment mandate and making decisions on the different assets to invest in, you said that you are the chairman. Who is in your investment committee and how much weight do they carry in terms of deciding on the composition of the asset class?
Yeah, very fortunately, it's a very small number in our investment committee. But then we did certainly divide up our responsibilities in areas of interest and strength. Some of our investment committees members are in real estate, and I'm actually in the tech background. So yeah, but I think using a barbell approach is probably better. And but then after this conference and from a lot of GPs in other conferences that I hear, they're all doubling down on tech now.
Yes, there's a lot of concentration risk, but never mind. I should not wear my finance hat. I'm talking to you about family. Yes.
Yeah.
So your main key to many people would be plan if you want to be an investment company, even before you become an investment company. Yes.
Right. Yes.
And
then
plan
most
for
next
succession
generation.
early.
Yeah.
Very good. And the questions will come from the audience in a while. Wing Kiat, I know you have a lot to share, so I'm going to cut to the chase. You know, there will be professionals like Lyra, you know, my BFI, where we are always sharing and asking family to think about planning, to think about corporate governance, to, you know, leverage on non-family professionals to help them. What else is missing? It apparently looks like complex families need a lot of help. What else is missing to help them do that generational change? Wing Kiat?
I would say that first of all, we have to define the sort of successor we are looking at. Because for the business family, actually, there are three components.
There can only be one? There can only be one successor?
Yeah, I'll come to that. Okay, because there are three components about the family business, family wealth, and the family itself. And if you are talking about family business, well, the complexity is that a lot of the third generation or even the second generation business, probably the business model will have changed and not able to adapt to the new challenges in the new world. Yeah. I would say that before we could even consult a consultant like Leah about what to do about the successors or the governance or these things, I think we have to look into the business aspect. Is our business model able to face the challenges ahead? If the business model needs to be transformed, and that will be the first task that we need to do it. Then we talk about concurrently, do we have the sort of successors, whether they are shareholder successors or the operational successors? The challenges I faced in Wingcat was that, because it was such a traditional, conventional sort of family business, I couldn't even recruit professionals to join the company. So, I mean, it's very difficult to fill up all the gaps. And talking about the family successor that come in as a shareholder successors will be even more challenging because nobody is going to leave their professional job to join a family business, that they're going to get a haircut from the pay and the sort of the working environment. So, but fortunately, because my background, I was from the venture capital industry. So after I realized that I couldn't public list the extended family business, I started to adopt a sort of a CVC, corporate venture capital sort of thinking, where I started the investment arm in the Wincan. So instead of recruiting professionals to join the holding company, I invested in portfolio company to fill up the professional gap.
Yep.
And to build up the professionals so that, we have the sort of professionals from outside, because they are all entrepreneurs, but they need capital and they need a sort of infrastructure that the Wincan already has. So I did that to attract some of the professionals to join me. And of course, I didn't want to hold the majority of any of this investment, because just like the VC, we are just empowering the professional to do the job. But at the same time, I also have the sort of alignment objective that these people that join the Wincan investment, they have to provide certain services to the Wincan group. So that was the first thing that I did about the business model changings, about the structural changings. And I started to actually to break down the holding company into different operations, whether they are manufacturing, whether they are marketing, because I realized that it is almost impossible for us to recruit the family members or professional to run a complex business from manufacturing to the distribution to the marketing and to the product. At the same time, on the IP, and then we also talking about I also hope to bring it to the CVC and then the property investment for the group. So I find that although it wasn't a big company, but I need to look into different aspects to get the professional to fill up on this gap.
Very good.
So I think that is the first thing that I would do about the business model before I engage a professional to help in the other governance side.
Very nice. And I think that is very critical, because family business, the business and the family are actually very intertwined. And even in the 6 years that we have set up BFI, we have found that if the business cannot be shaped to be a growing business, it's actually very difficult for the family to even think about governance and constitution and all those good stuff. Okay, I'm going to ask you one more question before I move to Leah. So now that you have stepped out as a director, but you are still a shareholder in Wincan, looking back to what you did from 1995 till now, what kind of report card do you give yourself?
Well, that is a very good thing. I put myself a milestones that when I step out of Wincan, step down from Wincan as a director, I wanted to achieve two things. First thing is that I must able to get a successor to be the shareholder successor or the operation successor. And the other thing is that I want to have the sort of a globalization of the Wincan business, because before I joined, the company was really focusing in Singapore, Malaysia, and Indonesia, and Brunei. So I felt that it was too small, the market, to grow a business. So that's why in 2011, I encouraged one of my portfolio company to go for the SPBA Regional Brand Awards to get the milestone. And we managed to get the Regional Brand Award. So that will fulfill my first milestone about globalizing the Wincan business. And the second thing is that I encourage the present MD of the Wincan Group to join the EYA Entrepreneur of the Year. And he managed to get the EYA, and then also on the sort of social enterprise side. So I would say that these were the two milestones that I set before I joined, and I achieved that in 2011. That's why I let go the sort of day-to-day running, and then not to let the new team to run the show. And that was also because I realized that that was the era of moving towards the e-commerce. And my capability is actually move the company from the lower trade to the upper trade, like those selling our consumer products in the supermarket, petrol kiosks. But the e-commerce is totally a new business to me. And I felt that it's time for me to hand over to the younger generations. I would say that the successor that now we have in Wincan is about the 15 years gap from me. I mean, not to say about my age, but you can tell that I'm not that young anymore. So I would say that it's important to get the right people at the right age to join the right era to lead the company. And we need to step down and step out when the time comes so that we can have our remaining years to rewire what we want to do. That is my own direct business, which is business concept.
Yes, and I will give you one question later about business concept, so don't go there yet. So just now you said you had to look for two successors, actually. You had to look for an operational successor and an ownership successor. Is it two persons or is it in the same person?
Unfortunately, I think very few shareholders would like to let go the operation successor to our non-family members. I think that is the main failure in a lot of family businesses. Because when they want to hand over the checkbook, they find that, oh, they're losing control. But because of my background, I was an accountant before I became a venture capitalist. So I thought that if you have got the proper governance and then proper structure, we can actually set the sort of boundaries for the operational successor to move within the comfortable zone. And at the board of directors, then the shareholders, successor can come in to set the corporate governance or to change the corporate governance to empower the operation successor to move. But unfortunately, I think many family businesses still don't have this trust of the operational people to sign the checkbook.
So in a way, you are actually saying at the moment, it's the same person, both the operational
operation successor and the owner successors are the same person. And that is the challenge that I think the extended family business will face.
Very good. I have actually now Leah, perfect timing, Leah. So Leah, I know you do a lot of coaching and both you said something which resonates with me very well. You say, how do we do prevention? Instead of having them come to you and buy hope, all right, you use cancer as the example. So in your advice to families that are watching this whole conference right now, what can you do to help them prevent dilemma when it's when the situation has become so bad and it's out in the newspapers, how to prevent families going there?
Okay, so actually currently two other panelists, those are examples of successful cases. So actually you successfully managed the generational transition and currently you are managing quite well. And as an advisor, I often encounter disaster cases. And typically what happens is when families do not plan in advance, and then at the very later stage, and oops, we have a problem, we should appoint a successor, or we should think about handing over to the next generation, then that's too late. Because the challenge is we human beings don't change overnight. And we cannot just fit into a mold just because the father decided that I need to be a CEO in a month time. Or I cannot just completely be a different person. So that's the challenge, planning ahead. And then the second part is having open dialogue and really thoroughly and having in-depth discussion about even the very simple topics. So as I gave the example earlier, when you have a family with a family business and a lot of family personal wealth and a lot of simple things that's not an issue in kind of average family is an issue. So even simple things as what it means to be a family, what it means not to be a family, what am I entitled as a family, what's my responsibility as a family, a lot of basic things needs to be discussed, agreed, and explained to the younger generation. And I know that especially in Asia, there's a tendency to avoid talking about money. And actually, the concept of money and concept of wealth, it's something earlier that we start, we have a higher chance of managing it properly. Because the money is not just the mathematical number. Actually, money and wealth have emotional relationship with us. And that emotional relationship with money or wealth is formed during our formative years. So a lot of times in the family, the problem that they have is they try to reestablish the relationship with money and wealth after the children are grown and they already have established values. It's too late. So that's what I would recommend. And then also one of the things that I would strongly recommend is when there's a problem in the family, try to resolve the issue through the communication, not through the legal means. Because whenever you are trying to resolve the issues through the legal means amongst the family members, instead of solving the problem, it gets worse and worse. The reason is actually, if you think about it, attorneys are trained to protect their client from the worst possible case. Okay? So that's their job. So once you open up a simple topic and talk to them, okay, I was thinking of buying a pencil. Then he will say, oh, have you thought about the toxicity of the paint on the pencil? And have you thought about, I mean, they will come up with the millions of worst possible cases that there's maybe 1 in a billion chance of happening, but it's their job to do that. But if you try to deal with the family issues that way, instead of families coming together through the discussion, actually it pulls the family apart. So I would recommend, again, don't try to resolve the family issues as a legal matter. It is a family issue. No matter how much money is involved, resolve it as a family issue first, and legal resource should be the last one. And then actually the earlier you mentioned that the succession issues, generational transition, it's not isolated issues. It has to be integrated with what is the business strategy, what is the purpose of our family, and how does individuals fit in, and you need to have a bigger context to be able to fit in. So when families are planning and even doing the family constitution, succession planning, generational planning, whatever, without the context of the bigger picture, they end up having a lot of, nice chess pieces, but when you put them together, they don't go together. So I recommend having a more strategic perspective of planning it and integrating everything. That's where the kind of a science and art come together. How do we put together all these different pieces? And actually, that's one of the beauty of mosaic.
Thank you.
You don't need to have every perfect piece. You can have some broken pieces here and there. You can have some ugly colors here and there. But if you know how to put it together nicely, and as a whole family, you can have very harmonious and nice the composition.
Thank you very much. Leah, I think, I wish we had a longer time, but there's one question from Mohammed that I'm going to throw as the last question. Yeah. So all of you come from so many interesting perspectives. Do you think managing family affairs or family offices will have to be different in different countries or cultures? And if there is anything, what is it that is in common? Very nice question, Mohammed. It gives me the fodder for doing the closing session. Can we start? Or anybody can jump in? Our family?
I can jump in.
Okay, yeah. Quick, short.
With the families all across the country, because actually that's the first question that any of the client asked. Well, Leah, have you worked with a family in, let's say, Zambia? And if you haven't, how can you help us? Ironically, as long as we are human beings, and when certain conditions are there, we behave in a very similar way. So amongst the different cultures, I would say the difference is not as significant as we think. However, I do find that actually there's a bigger difference amongst the complexity of the business and the size of the business. So for example, if I compare the same family, let's say in Hong Kong, who have a single business and 2 children versus another family in Hong Kong who have global business with the dozen subsidiaries and the complicated family dynamics. Even though they are from the same culture, their issues are not going to be similar at all. So I find that the cultural difference is not as significant as people think.
Okay, very good. Leah has given her view. Wing Kiat, then Richard.
I tend to think otherwise because in Wing Kiat, actually, although we've got 4 families, we are all Hakka. But within the Hakka, actually, there are Hokkien Hakka and Cantonese Hakka. And the culture of the Cantonese Hakka and the Hokkien Hakka are quite different. I belong to the Cantonese Hakka. We are more receptive of getting like administrator to run the things. Whereas the Hokkien Hakka, I know if you have been to China, the Tulou, the urban structure, the same family, they stay together. And then if you are not in that structure, that means you're not part of the family. Although they still say, oh, we are the same people, Hakka, but there are many, many dialects. And I would say that the momentum of not just the culture, but because of educations, having different education in different countries, that will give the challenges. Like for my nuclear family, my 2 sons are educated in the US, and my daughter will have her education in the UK. Although they have the foundations in Singapore, I don't realize that their thinking are quite different, even after a few years of the educationals in the different countries. I would say that it can become so complex that it's not just a country, but we're talking about the people, what sort of educations, what sort of exposure they have been. And I always try to expose my children to many countries by bringing them for holiday trips or studying trips, so that they have a mixed culture, so that they can able to accept the differences among different people. So that's my view. So managing family affairs, I think it will be very different, not just from country to country, but depending on the composition of the family members, like education, the age group, and then the culture aspects. So it's getting very complex, and then we have to really understand the people issues and what they are thinking. And not to say that if you plus the in-laws, that will it become a multiple fold of the complexity in managing family affair.
Thank you very much. Richard, how do you balance between Leah and Wing Kiat?
Well,
Muhammad's questions, yeah?
the one concept I think that's common among all families is, well, we started philanthropy. We started a foundation. This will kind of focus all family members, whether you're business or not, into the meaning of actually why your family is in business. I think this is a common concept or emphasis that the next generation has. Money can buy you a lot of things, but I think one of the things that we all have to teach them is to be good to your fellow human beings. And during this family summit, there was this ESG topic, and my brother's a big champion of this cause. But someone said philanthropy is not impact investing. So this is something that I think will cut across all cultures or bring all cultures together. So yeah, that's my take on it.
Very nice. Ladies and gentlemen, I wish we had more time. I think we are running short of time. Following this, there's a case study of a family in conflict. So maybe you could gather more rich gems from there. But I want to say a big thank you to Alex and Muhammad for having us on this panel. The conclusion is every family is unique, and yet they are drawn together by very strong values. And there's so much more we could learn. That the cultural differences are there. There are country differences, there are race and language differences. But what binds every family together is they have a very simple reason for existence. They want to create value that hopefully goes from generation to generation. And impact is best met not because they are wealthy, but because they make life and the world a lot better for every generation to come. On that note, I want to say a big thank you to my wonderful panel, and over to you, Alex. Thank you.
Thank you, Annie, for moderating. Thanks, Leah, Richard, Winkiat. Thanks for your insights. We're now moving into a presentation, I would say a fireside chat, a session with ExecuJet. This session will be moderated by Mohammed. So I'll just give me one moment, and I'll just bring in the speakers and Mohammed. Hi, Mohammed, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Fantastic.
Well,
Okay, so we should have Darren McGoldrick and Maggie Wong. Darren, Maggie, are you in?
Yes, hello,
Yes.
Alex and Mohammed.
Good stuff.
Hello.
I'll hand it over to Mohammed to moderate the session.
Good morning, Darren. Good morning, Maggie.
Morning, Mohammed.
Morning, Mohammed.
During the current pandemic, the demand for private aviation increased mainly for health safety and also because of lack of destination when it comes to commercial airlines. For that reason, today we will have ExecuJet and represented by Darren McGoldrick and Maggie Wong. So Darren and Maggie, let me ask a question. Why you join ExecuJet, not other company?
Okay, I guess for me, I joined the company 20 years ago, so it's been quite a time. My background was originally in accounting and finance, and I came to it purely by chance, I must say. And aviation as a business, as an industry, does tend to get you in. And 20 years later, it's still within my skin, and I'm still here. So it's been a long time, but certainly quite diverse along the way. Yeah, it's been fantastic.
What about you, Maggie?
Yeah, I've been joining the company for 4 years since I joined Lux Aviation. And then by then I joined the ExecuJet, the team here in Hong Kong. Joining the company is really by chance. At that time, company would like to set an office in Hong Kong. And then I have start a career movement. And then just in time to join the company. Yeah.
Okay, so tell us more about ExecuJet and the service that you provide.
Sure. Look, I guess ExecuJet, we're a leading global business aviation company. We're part of the Lux Aviation Group that Maggie mentioned. And Lux Aviation is a group of one of the largest business jet operators in the world. So in a nutshell, what we do is that we manage and we operate private aviation business jets for owners. As a business, the group has been in business for over 50 years. Our oldest company within the group is over 50 years. Here in Asia Pacific, we've been in business for 20 years. So originally, I guess from a regional perspective, we grew out of a small operation in Sydney with a couple of aircraft to now with 26 aircraft throughout the region. We've got operations in Singapore, Indonesia, Malaysia, Hong Kong, China, Australia, and New Zealand. I guess if I break it down into what we do, there's 5 areas that we concentrate on. Aircraft management is a big part of what we do. So we manage the asset for the aircraft owner. We also then operate and manage the day-to-day flying operations, make all the arrangements for the flying activities. And that can be as much or as little as we do. So, clients can really just tell us where and when they want to fly, and we actually go ahead and look after everything else for them. And we do that now, as I said, as part of the group throughout the world with, 240 aircraft or so, around the world. Another big part of what we do is aircraft charter, and this is where those clients that we manage for will give us their aircraft in so much as that we will then place it on one of our commercial operating certificates, which allows us to sell the aircraft out to people that want to hire the aircraft for specific flights. That proves quite good for the aircraft owners, because that does give them a revenue stream, and that does start to help offset the costs of their own ownership and flying. So we will put that out. Not every client wants to have their aircraft out for others to use, but many do, and we then provide that service for them. Another part of what we do is we have VIP lounges throughout the world. We've got 28 now. We've just added 2 in the last 2 weeks, actually. So there's 28 that ExecuJet and the Lux Group run. And then we have another 44, which are part of a wider network. And they're private lounges. So passengers, guests, owners of the aircraft can come and relax before or after a flight. They can conduct their meetings there. And it takes them away from crowded airports and airlines and whatnot. So a lot more private in moving them around. Consultancy is another part of what we do. We work with clients on...
Darren, just one thing. When it comes to the VIP lounge that you were mentioning, they
Yeah.
are in the commercial terminals or the private jet terminals?
They're normally in private jet terminals away from the main. So I'm sitting in our office here in Sydney today, and downstairs is in fact our terminal. We're away from the main terminal itself, so we've got our own area. And look, and in terms of that, you know, clients will come straight in, out of their car, straight up the stairs into an aircraft. We look after all of the transaction of processing them, you know, there. Consultancy is another area that we work on. So if a client is looking to acquire an aircraft, we work with the client, we work with the banks and finance if that is involved. We'll work with the manufacturer that's selling or the sales broker. And we'll work with the client's lawyers and tax advisors. And what we'll do is make sure that at the end of it, there's an optimal structure that's put in place for the client, what they're wanting to achieve, and also to make sure that any of the structures do meet the requirements of the Civil Aviation Regulatory Authority. So to make sure that if it is a private operation, that it remains private, but at the same time that the structure allows for the sharing of costs through a group of companies that are associated with the same principles. So there's a lot of things there. There's a lot of nuances in every transaction and every client, every family. So we work with them to try and do that. And the other part more recently that we've developed is some luxury trips and travel packages. And this has been something that we've worked with a couple of different specialist providers. Lafuge and Continents in Chalet were the partners that we chose, and they are specialists in developing sort of particular and luxurious itineraries with destinations and experiences. So it was to provide clients, I guess, an extension and another form of package that they could look at. As we all know, we can't do a lot of that at the moment. So, but we certainly hope that we'll do that into the future. And if nothing else at the moment, we can all dream about travel again.
But you know, Darren, let me tell you something. I saw like there is some countries, seriously, they are living their life normally. I have friends in Brazil, and they are partying nowadays. They don't even like think about the pandemic. One question. You were talking about like you are a global organization, global company. In which content there is more demand for private aviation? Like, do you see there is more demand in Asia, Africa?
Yeah, look, I suppose a lot of our activity happens out of Europe, and that is simply because that's a large part of where our company is based. We don't operate in the US, but the US has always been a big user of aviation, private aviation, and I think just geographically their country doesn't work unless they have a very good aviation system, either airline or private. We've always seen that Asia is a growth area for us, and will provide the longest term, growth, I think, for our business. And we've seen that over years. It's grown, and we saw a lot of growth in certain parts. That came off as we know, as China slowed down. But definitely for the long term, we would definitely see that Asia and the Asia Pacific region is a growth area for us long term.
Okay. Maggie, do you want to add something, or shall we move to the second question?
Yeah, I think in Asia, they still have some time to grow. There's a big increment in the future, especially we look at China, that will be a lot of aircraft in the future in the private aviation. Right now it's lack of the airport, lack of the support, but I think in the Chinese government is working hard on that side. Yeah, also in Asia Pacific, in other regions as well. Yeah.
So let's move to the second question. Why do people use private aviation instead of conventional airline, and what are the benefits?
The most benefit probably is the flexibility. How is the flexibility when you travel on airline? Is the fixed schedule. You have to go to the airport earlier to wait at the airport for boarding the aircraft. But however, that in private aviation, it really saves a lot of time. You just straight to the private lounge and they get on board immediately. And also you got a very more security, privacy for the whole family, even for the leisure or for business travel. For business travel, that even though the chairman can have the meeting on the flights, yeah, there's quite difference. And also that, especially in this pandemic situation, the well-being is one of the very important things for all the customer, all the passenger travel from one point to the other point. They ensure that the one next to them is someone that they know and someone that in the family as well.
So with this benefit, do you think the price difference between like buying a ticket to first class or business with a private aviation is justified?
Yeah, look, in terms of price, it's if you wanted to fly first class, it'll be cheaper than flying on a private jet. You know, that's I think no question. I think in terms of it's about the value that people place in either on their time and their saving and what they want to achieve and their privacy. And that's a very personal decision I think people make. And I guess if they can and they can afford, they choose to do that. I think we're going to add into that now this layer, as Maggie said, this health and well-being is being a big issue. And we've seen a lot of inquiries, I think, coming around this now where people want to know who they're sitting next to. They want to know that they're not sitting right on top of someone. And I think that's going to be a value that people will place, and therefore they will be prepared to pay the price. If you look at it just in pure dollar terms, you know, particularly if you're only traveling with a couple of people, it'll always be cheaper on an airline. If you take a slightly larger group and, you know, business colleagues perhaps, and you're flying to meetings, it starts to then, you know, become a more affordable, you know, position to be in. So I look, it's a value proposition as much as anything for the individuals. Yeah.
I think now we will watch a video about ExecuJet. Alex?
Yeah, sure. One second.
Not getting any sound.
Sorry, guys, 1 second.
Sorry that there was no sound on the video, but we'll try to fix that for the next video. So shall we move to the second point in our discussion today? So Darren and Maggie, are you hearing me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So Darren and Maggie, how it works if I want to a charger from your aircraft, how does it work? Can you just explain to us?
Yeah, when you see the video, you can see the passenger just brought the aircraft in front of the aircraft. They just get off from the ground, from the car, and they get on the board. So from the client side, that probably need to let us know where he wants to go and where they going to depart, and the number of passenger when they want to travel. This is a basic information they have to go to let us know. And then we will arrange all the things at the background and from A to the A airport to the B airport. The main city, yeah, some of the main city we have a lot of airport that if client that give us the final destination they wish to go, we can choose the closest airport for them to arrive. And then you also can arrange from the air to the ground, meaning that when they get off the aircraft, and then we can arrange a car to transfer them to their final destination. So they just give us the information where they want to go, and then we arrange everything for them. Some of the clients that maybe have the special requests like on the flights, they need to go for a meeting go for field meeting in a day, like going to in the morning they have the meeting in Singapore, and they have to have the meeting in KL in the afternoon, and then at the night have the dinner meeting in Bangkok. We can do that as well. Yeah, like me based in Hong Kong, that client say, oh, okay, Maggie, I have to go for a meeting in 3 cities in the same day. That charter aircraft can make it possible for them, especially that there's no airline. You can saving a lot of time waiting at the airport, and then you can do all the meeting in a day in a different city. So chartered aircraft that will be saved a lot of time and then more efficiency. Yeah. So
Darren, just a question came to my mind now. Usually your clients, are they price sensitive in a way when they get a quotation from you, they will go to pitch for another quotation, or they just go ahead with you because they are buying the service?
Yeah, look, we do have clients that come to us exclusively, and we look after all of their requirements, whether they be private individuals or companies that we work for and we have for a long time. And I think that's really where we've had a long established, trusted relationship. So they don't bother going anywhere else, and that takes time, and that also means that that only happens if we continue to provide the service and we continue to deliver a good service at good fair prices as well. There's no question they're still about price. We also have clients that we will compete with other operators, and so there is a market price, like everything. There is still certain aircraft are priced at certain rates, so there's that becomes the self-leveling, I guess, in terms of the pricing. So we always will price to market. There's someone who'll always shop around. There's always someone who'll want to try and do something cheaper. We try and we be as transparent as we can with our clients so that they know how the price is made up and what they do. And I think we've got a good fleet of aircraft that we can provide for them, and that's why they come back to us, and we continue to work for them. As Maggie said, it's about trying to do as much as we can for them and tailor it around what their requirements are. They give us, sometimes some quite challenging schedules, and it's our job to make it happen for them and get them slots at airports and be able to leave and arrive when they need to, all of those things, making sure we've got all the right catering with them. So we work pretty closely with the clients in terms of what they want. You know, some have a lot of requirements and some not at all. So it really just depends on the type of client. And charter can be for all different purposes. You know, it's, you know, it could be a leisure trip with a family. It could be an emergency trip to fly someone to because someone was ill and they needed to see them. It could be a business trip. There's so many different uses of charter aircraft. So, you know, everything is tailored according to that.
And did you consider to have a loyalty program with your client, or that not in your agenda?
Yeah, look, what we've done a couple of times, and we do offer it to certain clients. So people will look to buy sometimes bulk hours, and we'll do, you know, sort of discounted prices for them. There'll be people that will have, as I said, long-term relationships with us, and therefore, you know, the loyalty then comes back in a form of the better pricing that we can do as a result. And you know, some, as I said, some, you know, do commit to quite a lot of flying, and therefore we can adjust commercially, you know, how we present that for them. But no, it's not, I guess, not like an airline point system, and then you could use that for, you know, other goods and services. So, because I know, and I think that's probably been, you know, it's probably been the most profitable parts of a lot of airlines businesses, loyalty programs.
Yes.
Yeah.
You mentioned earlier about luxury travels experience. Can you elaborate more about that?
Yeah, look, this is something that we worked on and was ready to launch pretty much at the same time as coronavirus launched. So it was not great timing. So we sort of held back that. And but what we found was that in terms of travel, in terms of luxury travel, clients, people, all of us wanted sort of experiential travel. We wanted more than just going to a destination, you know, and ticking off, yes, I've seen X, and right, let's move on to the next thing. You know, this was about, I think, trying to, you know, match unique destinations, unique experiences, and you know, the more we talk to people, it's more about the journey and the experience as opposed to just the, you know, the destination. So that is something that we.
Sorry for interrupting, Darren. How it works? Like, do you suggest the destination to the client most of the time, or the clients come, no, I want to go to Africa to have a safari, or to go to explore the Antarctica and the Northern Pole?
Yeah, and that's really how it started, because we had, you know, people wanting to go into Africa, and, you know, well, what recommendations could you have in terms of, you know, a safari? We'd like to do this, or people that were putting on the end of business trips wanting to have a leisure component to it. So we did see that this was something that we wanted to do. So we wanted to combine all of those things and be able to offer that end to end, where, you know, if a client had their own aircraft, then they would fly in there, we would get them there in their own aircraft, and then they could tap into these with the accommodation and the experiences, and whether they be cultural experiences, whether they be, you know, great destinations, or music, wine, culture, whatever was sort of their thing. And likewise, if it was a charter client, you know, we would just package the whole thing up together for them. So that's really where it developed from. And so we've developed Lux Aviation Amazing Trips. That's the one we did with Continents in Chile, and they're a bespoke European-based travel agency. And they have developed some, you know, amazing, as we called it, amazing trips, you know, for us. Love Hughes is another company that concentrates more on cultural experiences and, you know, music, opera, art, classics. So we've also developed some programs with them, and ourselves internally, we developed Lux Aviation Fine Wines at a group level, and this was for our clients to access, you know, rare wines, you know, either for consumption or for investment if that was something they wanted to look at, and tours and tastings and events at the various estates. So, yeah, we've tried to design another element, and I think so that rather than people just coming and chartering it in a business sense, that there was this luxury element in terms of charter and for the leisure market, or again just providing our management clients with some other options that they could access as an add-on, so to enjoy really. So yeah, so it's quite exciting. We hope that the world's borders will open sometime, and we'll have clients that will want to go and experience these, because they look fantastic places, I must say. I'm sure most people would want to go.
And one more question about when it comes to luxury travels. Will you also get in touch with your clients, like if you have special destination, special event, something happening, and you want to promote it to your client, or you just like wait for a client inquiry?
No, we will we present these to the client. So sometimes the trips that we'll be looking at might run at certain times of the year, so we will push that out to them. So one of the trips, as an example, is exploring for polar bears in the Arctic. So they're only going to run it at certain times, and so they would happen at certain times. So we would make that as an offering to our clients and see if that's something that they want to. So we'll take up. So we'd always be in constant communication with them. You know, we're not pretending to be a travel agent. What we've done is said, look, we'll partner with those people, and it's a nice fit where they also can say they've got a clientele who now might want to add in a charter aircraft to the package as well. So we found that works as a good partnership for us.
Good. Alex, I think now we have a video about the travel experience. Darren, this video is very tempting.
Yeah, it's almost cruel to do this to each other at this time, isn't it?
Yeah. But hopefully very soon, like I'm sure like 2021 it will be much brighter, that's for sure.
We all hope for that, don't we?
Yeah, we have to be to make it happen. So I'm sure there are other companies offering the same services, so why have to choose you?
Yeah, it's a good question, and it's a question that, you know, potential clients ask us. One of the things that I like to think, you know, that we're a trusted partner, you know, and that's the role that we play with our clients. You know, they are trusting us with a very expensive asset in the first place to operate and manage. But not only that, they trust us to fly them around safely, you know, them, their families, their business colleagues. And that's that's a lot. They really are. They're placing themselves in our hands, as such. So we take that seriously in terms of what we manage for them and what we do. I guess we've been in business a long time, and I think that's an important aspect for a lot of companies and a lot of families when they look at who they're dealing with. And I think we go to great lengths at trying to understand what the client wants to do. And it's all those little things, and we work very hard at making sure that we get those little things right with the client, and that they have an enjoyable experience in owning or operating or chartering an aircraft, and that they get on and either run their business and do what they need to do. We concentrate on running the aircraft and getting them around for where they want to go to, or if it's a leisure trip, they just simply sit back and relax and enjoy it, and that's our job. In terms of, we work with banks and finance companies, we're pre-approved, they are comfortable and understand what we do, and that we're approved by them to manage the assets that they're financing, and know that when the keys are handed back, that they get a quality aircraft coming back, in terms of return of leases and things like that. And that's an important part. So when there's any external parties involved. So there's some of the things for me. I'm sure Maggie's got a few that she probably wants to touch on.
Yeah, probably. We are very understand the cultural difference that most of the people in the Asia Pacific will have the Western culture, will have the Asian culture. In this part, that we provide different languages capability, account manager to take care of the detail of all our customers in their languages. So we can speak Cantonese, we can speak Hokkien, we can speak English, a lot of languages that our colleague can speak, that can understand the need from the client side. And also we have the team to look at everything in the detail to help our client to cost saving, do something extra to them. I can say in an example, one of the clients that to us and tell us because of the experience with us that we can provide and support them and trust us a lot, that they really just hand on everything to us, and then they just board the aircraft, go to the destination, do his own things, not really need to take care of every detailed things about the aircraft that they worry about. And this is all the customer told us, that they may know some of the external party, the other company that provide the same service, but however they choose that's because of the trust and probably the culture that would fit into their food, that they like us a lot. This is what our client that told us.
Definitely, it's all about how comfortable I feel with the party that I'm taking the set up. They are servicing me and everything. Even when I go to a supermarket, restaurant, the bank, it's all about the relationship and how comfortable I am. I think we are running out of time. Alice, if there is any question.
There's no questions which have come in, unfortunately.
Okay.
Yep.
I have one question then. If there is always a common say that small aircraft are not as secure as big aircraft for long destination. What's your comment on that?
The business jets or private aviation aircraft, the standard of manufacturing that they have they have the absolute best of the best in them, and designed to standards that are often beyond what the airliners have. So in terms of their design and everything else, that's without saying. In terms of where the aircraft fly, you'll often find that these types of aircraft will fly at a higher altitude. They get out of the weather. We've all been on an airliner where we've hit turbulence and we bounce around. Well, that's because you're actually in that zone. So what happens is that these aircraft can clear and fly much higher. So, you know, that is a good thing. It's a much more comfortable ride in terms of that. If you're in one of these jets, you know, you might have, you know, capacity for, you know, 16, 18 people as an example, but typically you might only be 4 or 6 people flying on the aircraft. So there's lots of space, a lot more space around you. Therefore, you know, if anyone does feel claustrophobic, you're not going to feel claustrophobic. You're not sort of, you know, tied into a small aircraft. So they're quite safe in that. They're quite comfortable. They've got all of the, you know, all of the amenities. So yeah, we do find that when people do get on them, they really do enjoy the experience.
Good. Thank you, Darren. Thank you, Maggie, for the interesting discussion today. And I'm sure, like the audience, they will get in touch with you for any question or even like a virtual meeting. Thank you. And now
absolutely.
Thank you. Virtual meetings. Yeah.
Thank you, Mohammed, and I appreciate you inviting us to the conference. And yeah, we look forward to hopefully one day we can do all this in person again. And I thank you for the time, for you and for Alex for organising things. So thanks again.
No, it's our pleasure. Thank you. Thank you, Maggie.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.